Hey guys, welcome back to Real Loves and Everything.
Yeah.
All my real lovers out there, we are back, Rhonda.
Hello. Hi. Hi, real lovers. My
We are
dogs are
so
saying hi too. Hopefully you can't hear them, but as soon as I said hello, they're now just a yapping.
that is, we were talking the whole time before
And they
and
didn't
nothing.
say a thing.
And they
Yeah.
was like, we want to be part of the podcast today.
They
Which
gang
is
gang.
okay. Which is
They're
okay.
gang
They
gang.
gang. They gang.
Yes. Yes.
No, I'm so happy, Rhonda. It's like this is such a not sad time, but really I think great time because it's a time of shift, a time of change.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've earned this little sabbatical. So we want to announce to all of our real lovers out there and everybody tuned in that Rhonda and I will be taking our first official break,
Yeah.
like from the podcast,
In
just
three
to
years.
in 3 years to like
Yeah.
refresh, rejuvenate, bring the show back with a different life and different energy, all
Yeah.
to help the betterment of the show, of
Yeah.
ourselves, but also the real lovers and anyone who is consuming the podcast and relationship content. So
Yeah.
we're excited, sad to go for a little while, but
Yeah.
excited to
It's
recharge and
definitely
refresh.
bittersweet. It's definitely bittersweet, but it's necessary. And that's the
Yeah.
beautiful thing about change and growth that sometimes, a little discomfort is okay. But truly, during this time, we also really need your help to just stay in touch with us. Tell us what you want to see. Join the community. It's a great place to get your thoughts out. But yeah, we want to hear from you. Many of you have been with us since day one in 2022 when we were in the Tyson studio with the real love scenario lit
Oh
sign. And
yeah, I
then
remember
we
that.
moved around with our guests and we went to them city to city. So we've gone through a lot of wonderful changes. But one thing that's remained consistent is our commitment to you. So just because we're taking a break from the show doesn't mean that we're taking a break from you. So please stay in touch with us. And like I said, tell us what you want to see. What this open it's open season in the sense of for feedback and understanding of what you want, what can make it better, keep it the way it is. Just tell us what you're thinking. We would love to hear that.
Yeah, for sure. And it's so funny. I had to catch myself because I was about to go into Rhonda. I appreciate you so much. I'm like, we ain't ending. We are not ending. This is
No.
just a break. Like I don't gotta give the whole, I
Hmm.
appreciate you so like it's just we just
And
taking a
last I
little
checked,
break.
you have my number.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
true. That is
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
I
That's
could
I
just
think I
call
think
or
so.
text.
Nothing too
But no,
crazy.
it is crazy to that we made it to this point from conversations at work and just talking and how it can end up to this point and having a top relationship podcast and shooting and producing over 150 episodes of this show and having some really cool guests come on and just
Yeah.
learning new things, exploring new things, meeting new consumers and real lovers of what we do and having
Yeah.
fans of people like, hey, you had that podcast. Like
Yeah.
it's all really really cool to be in this position, so I don't take it for granted at all, and I am
No.
thankful for you. Even though this isn't the end, I'm thankful for you and your commitment as well to what we do, and I'm just excited for what we come back with, because if you haven't noticed, more to come, relationship restore, we revving back up, so it's like it's some things on the way for sure, and I
For
can't wait.
sure. And I appreciate you too, friend, for sure, for sure. This is just a moment. We're just taking a moment. And it's funny when you just talked about you running into people and they're saying like, "Oh, I listened to the pod." I was at Lowe's or something the other day and I saw this sign about carpet cleaning. So I called because I need carpet in my basement cleaned. And the person called me back and he's like, is this Miss Rhonda? And I'm like, oh God, Miss Rhonda is already like,
Yeah.
who is
Ooh.
this? Right.
You are
So
under
I'm
30.
like, right. I'm like, okay. I was like, yeah, he's like, you're probably gonna find this funny, but we used to basically I hired him when I was working at a different company for third-party services. But then he proceeds to tell me that he's listened to the show. He saw the clips online and he's like, I know her from working and I never knew that you had that. So it is very wild how small the world is. I'm always so shocked still 3 years later that I'm like, Oh, you watch? Oh, you listen? Like, I'm always so like shocked that people do, but I don't know why. This is an amazing show on an amazing platform, and we're doing the Lord's work. So
For sure. The
happy to
funniest
be
one
a
for
part.
me is that I get people come up just for, me and Bree, but also this podcast specifically, because a lot of my
Yeah.
clips, the most viral ones, have come
Hmm.
from this show. But the
Hmm.
funniest one was my ex-girlfriend when I went to homecoming, and we're cool now and stuff like that.
Yeah.
My only girlfriend besides Bree, but then she was like, "Oh yeah, I see you doing your thing." But then she was like that she was in her cohort or something like that for a master's program, and
Hmm.
obviously as I've grown, people start sending and sharing stuff, and they shared it with her, was like, "Ooh, you gotta hear this is good." She looked like, "Yep, actually know him."
Yeah.
Glad to see he's grown and matured. Right.
It's like he was not that emotionally intelligent when we were dating, actually, but glad he's doing well.
And we had a laugh about that because that was pretty funny. But yeah, it's always cool to see like just everything circulating and people loving the show. So
Yeah,
Um, for all our real lovers out there, thank you. We will be back, and we will be back better than ever.
for sure.
So one thing I want to do, or we want to do this episode, because we always do a real love scenario, but today, before our break, we just wanted to kind of talk about the state of relationships in
Yes.
2025 and in the world that we're in right now, and some of the things that we've seen and we would like
Hmm.
to change, and some of the things we need to look out for as we all go out into this world and try to navigate this space, but also for us as we're producing new content and trying to serve the people who listen and follow us, like what things we need to really, hone in on and focus on as we come back, in our new season of Real Love Scenario. So, Rhonda,
Yes.
I'll start with you. Give me one thing that you see in the relationship world in 2025 that you see as a problem or you wish would change, or needs to change or needs to be addressed?
Phew. Um, I want us to become more analog people and not such digital people. Like,
Hmm.
I want us to be I want to be the analog girl in a digital world, like for sure. And I want more people to do that. I think we have gotten so wrapped into technology, and so much of it is beautiful, right? Like we've advanced our lives in many ways. It's awesome that you can just dial up a thing. I love ordering my laundry services. I love that I can get my Sephora delivery brought to my house. I don't have to go to the mall. There are lots of things that I enjoy so much about the advancements in technology. But one thing I have said consistently, if you are not new here, I do not like the digital experience as it relates to these very human interactions. Like, yes, the apps help us meet people. Yes, they sometimes help us meet people that aren't around the corner from us, that are in different countries. And yeah, sure, it all works out. But literally, day to day, millions of us are still going out in the world, walking around, going back and forth to work, to our offices where we run our businesses. We're still shopping in grocery stores. We are still going to festivals and shows and restaurants and comedy events. We're still out and about amongst people, but so many of us are walking around like this constantly, constantly. No matter where you are, your face is down on your phone. And I feel like that's one of the biggest barriers to meeting people for the exploration of dating. Like, I hear so many women say it, and I experience it myself. And I mean beautiful women. Now, granted, I think I'm very, very beautiful too, but I mean stunners, okay, that are like, I can walk around for days and days and days looking pretty, looking this, and no one will say a word to me. In fact, I've experienced where someone saw me in public and didn't say anything to me in public, found me on Instagram and sent me a message there. I don't know what that's about, but I very much want us to stop. I want us to all put our big girl and big boy panties on as it relates to rejection. It's a part of life. So it's not the worst thing in the world if you walk up to someone and you say, "Hey, I think you're handsome," or "I think you're beautiful," or whatever your approach is, and I would love to know if you're single, or if maybe I can call you later. If they say no, the world is not going to end. You are going to be fine. But not taking those opportunities because we all just want to be cool and in our phones, and just not do just good old fashioned approaching. I have had wonderful conversations with men that I rarely meet in public, just chatting. You know what I mean? Just like, "Hey, how you doing? I see you on the train all the time. Oh yeah, you which way do you like?" Just good dialogue, like, I want us to just get back to connecting with one another face to face, putting the phones down and being so much more present. And I think that would just go such a long way with interactions as it relates to dating. Like, just try. Just just bring back trying, Lord. And trying in person, not trying on these apps. That's my first and probably biggest gripe.
Okay. Okay. I feel you 100%.
Yeah.
I have some thoughts from what you said. I completely agree that we need to be able to connect more on a personal level, right? That's
Yeah.
one of the biggest crisis, and I'll speak to that too
Mhm.
when it's my turn to name what I have issue with. But there's a few things that you said that I wanted to touch on that I think are
Yeah.
so true. Number one is, if you study, I mean, you can be whatever your religion may be, Christianity, whatever, you can do that. But there are certain practices that you can take from like Buddhism, or
Mhm.
you know different stuff like that. And to me, some of the best things to take from that are like mindfulness and meditation and stuff
Mhm.
from other cultures and other religions. And the term mindfulness is something that I really um had to learn more about as I
Mhm.
grew and learn more about like stoicism and things like that. And what
Yeah.
mindfulness is just being present in the moment. And
Yeah.
you realize how little we do that now, right? We're
Mhm.
always trying to distract ourselves. And I mean, just like, I'm like, even driving, how often do you just drive and just no music, no podcast, no YouTube
No,
video
nothing.
playing, and you're
Yeah.
just like looking at the signs, oh, looking at this, like looking at that. Or like, I go for
Mhm.
walks all the time, but I'll put my AirPods in and listen to something while I'm walking, instead
Yeah.
of just being like, listen to the birds. Oh, look at that little kid playing with his mom. Like, you're just mindful, you're just present in the moment wherever you are at that time. And I feel like that's something that we struggle with, and we're always trying to distract ourselves, or trying to live in this super uber productive world to where we feel like we have to fill every piece of time that we have with
Mhm.
something that's going to better us or entertain us or make us feel good, or
Mhm.
something like that. But I think it's useful for us to be mindful and to be present in the moment at times, and just take in our environment, right? Because
Yeah.
that does also benefit us and gives our brain a bit of a rest.
That's it.
So what you said about that, I 100% agree.
And it
um
goes beyond, relationships. So I'm clearly talking about it for
yeah.
dating, but what you're talking about is just consciousness. It's literal, just very much consciousness when you're in conversation with people, when you're at dinner with your friends, wherever you are. It is so rare that I sit in my car and I just listen to nothing. That when I do that, I notice it. It sticks out so much, like, huh. Like, it's almost like I walked into some new world, but it's a really nice feeling to just be still. That's what it feels like. Even though you might be in motion, no sounds of music, no sounds of podcasts, no talking to people on the phone. It's a really nice feeling, and it helps to decompress, to be honest.
Yeah, one example that I can tell, which I'm sure a lot of people have experienced, maybe you're really good at it and you haven't experienced it, but one way to show how unmindful we are is, I know that I have done it before, and I know plenty of people who have. How many times have you been to a place a million times, but you still got to put in the GPS to get to that same place that you done been a million times? That's because every time you go there, you're not paying attention to it. You're not actually looking at what turn you made. You're not actually looking at the signs and what exit you took, right? you're
Yep.
looking at the thing, but you're doing something else, mind somewhere else. Like you're not really
Mhm.
paying attention, right? And
Yep.
that's just an example. And most of the time we get there safe, we arrive to our destination, we follow the GPS, but it's just an example how you could be moving through life, still getting to places and still operating, but not really paying attention.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. That's it. That's me. It's me, guys. It's me, guys. Or it just takes me a
It's
lot of
all of
time.
us.
Yeah.
It's all of us. Like we don't pay attention a lot of times,
Yeah.
and we're just coasting. And then that's when we get to the point to say, like, oh, where did the time go? It's because we weren't mindful. We
Or
weren't
that
paying
feeling of
attention.
like the car just drove itself. It's like, well, it didn't. That's the thing. You just subconsciously drove there. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's one thing off of what you mentioned. Another thing too is, the approaching people and talking to people, right? And I think that that's one thing that's very interesting that I've been watching a lot of podcasts and reading a lot just about like men and approaching women and that fear of rejection, but also which we had talked about in this digital world, which is so interesting, is this post Me Too movement, right? Of
Yeah.
men at times, sometimes being scared to approach because they don't know how to approach, because they don't
Mhm.
want to offend and they don't want it to come off the wrong way. But then in this social media element too, you see these people like going on and embarrassing people for approaching a certain way or talking a certain way or doing something a certain way. So I think that the fear of rejection is a real thing. And I think
Yeah.
that probably always existed, but I think
Mhm.
there's now also another layer now of
It's
like
the exposure
yeah,
connected
the
to the
exposure
rejection.
to the
Yeah.
to the rejection and
Yeah.
all of those things that makes it even, tougher to have that connection with people.
Mhm.
And even, you know, where I say post Me Too movement, but all the things that have been happening to women, it's like, before it was customary for a gentleman to come and pick you up and take you to, your, dinner or to on a first date, right? Like
Yeah.
it
Yep.
was not something that was unfamiliar or not
Mhm.
normal, but now in this day and age, it's just can't trust people, and people are creepy, and there are a group of guys that do try to take advantage and do try to push the limits. So it's just unfortunately, it seems like it's scary times for everybody around, and people just err on the side of caution sometimes
Yeah.
versus like actually putting themselves out there. But I think
Mhm.
this evolution of digital and social media and all this stuff has made it worse for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. I feel so bad. I saw something recently and apparently it was kind of fake, but or regurgitated over and over just to get clicks. But it was like a woman exposing a guy for DMing her and inviting her out to coffee. And she posted it because she's like, why would you ever? She was a woman where she feels like asking her out on a coffee date as a first date is just a hard no. And it's fine if that doesn't work for you, but I just thought it was so callous to like post him. Like she screenshotted the DM with his page showing and everything. I just was like, his approach was very kind. Allegedly, it was a chat GPT written thing, whatever. Um, yeah, but I just didn't understand that. When you can just respond and say, I appreciate the offer, but I would prefer to do something more substantial for a first date, like lunch or dinner, if you do want to do that. Or thanks, but no thanks. If just him asking you out for coffee was too much, just say no, but thank you. I've certainly been asked for my phone number from someone that I don't want to give my phone number to, and I politely say no. Now, I also, on the flip side of what you're talking about, where men post Me Too movement feel uneasy about approaching and maybe approaching in the wrong way, is also the fear of telling someone no, the fear of actually rejecting a person and what their reaction might be to that.
Yeah.
So there's a downside to it all. And I mean, you just pray that we encounter safe people as often as possible. But yeah, I get it. I'm not downplaying the feeling of rejection. I think what I'm just asking us to do is not take it on so heavily, right? Like you don't know this person. You saw them from across the room. If they say no, Don't make that your life. Don't internalize that. They're just not interested. They're not interested, and that's okay, because you don't want the person that's not interested in you anyway. You want the girl that's going to say, yes, I would love to give you my number, I would love to talk with you later. That's what you want.
Yeah, and I think one thing that would be helpful for people too around that fear of rejection is, I think it's much more of a fear when it feels like all or nothing, right? Like,
Hmm.
right? It's like saying hello is just hello, right? It's
That's
not,
it.
hey,
Yeah,
can I get your number, right? You can ease into the larger ask, right? You can
that's
just
true.
introduce yourself. Hey, how's it going? Like, what
Hmm.
brings you out tonight? Like, these things aren't, things that aren't the thing that you really are after when you're trying to, meet
Yeah.
somebody and talk to somebody. But
Hmm.
if you go straight up and just say like, hey, what's your number? 'Cause I would love to take you out. And in moments, sometimes in passing, you might gotta go for the juggler at the time to just ask for it from a timing perspective. But most of the time, you can just strike up a conversation. And
Yeah.
through that, you could typically tell if somebody's interested. But then even if it gets to the point to where you do ask and they say, oh no, I have a boyfriend or I'm married, or
Hmm.
I'm just not interested, thank you, I think you'll typically get a nicer response, which would allow the rejection to not even really feel like rejection.
Yeah, it's not even, it doesn't feel like a jab. It's just like,
Yeah,
okay, all right, that was cool. That was kind. I get it. I get
yeah.
it.
And
I
meeting
want you
in
to
person
answer
is
this question though.
okay.
What do you think?
Did COVID kill the art of conversation between men and women? Ooh, I don't think it killed it. I think we were already struggling with it before, probably, right?
Hmm.
And in some ways, you can say people had more conversations a lot of times via COVID, during COVID, because they were cooped up and they needed some type of interaction. Now,
Yeah.
although that may have been virtual, right? You see a lot of people who met during COVID and, end up, building relationships during COVID and
Yeah.
things of that nature. So I don't know if it killed the art of conversation, but I do think it affected how we connect in person for sure.
Yeah.
Because I do think right now, because when I do go out, which is not much, you see the difference post COVID versus pre COVID. And I think people just got comfortable being at home that they don't go out anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And
True.
then people rely on the dating apps and more of that to have their interaction with people and to meet people versus meeting people out. So
Hmm.
that's where I think COVID really um
It made us a bit awkward.
yeah, went to a disadvantage, was that it's making people don't go out anymore.
Hmm.
They're
Hmm.
okay being home. Like, people now have, because you know how everybody knows how COVID was. You had to get comfortable at home and you had to learn how to do everything at home. So
Yep.
there are so many people that didn't have home offices or a place to
Right.
set up and do work at home, but they had to then create that, right?
Hmm.
So now when they may go out to work and for work and do a happy hour, or they may, go to the office and do this, or they may run out to get something like groceries, but then they discovered,
They can be
DoorDash,
delivered.
or they can deliver it during COVID, right? It's just
Yeah.
people are leaving the house less. So I think
Hmm.
that in-person interaction is probably what COVID killed the most versus like
Yeah.
necessarily the art of conversation. Cause I do feel like people still talked during that time, but showing up in person and pressing the flesh is just not as much of a thing anymore.
Yeah. Well, I want to hear from you. What's something that you feel like, or you would like to see some improvement in dating and relationships this year?
Whew, Rhonda, where do we start? Lord,
Don't say
Lord,
it like that. Don't say it like that.
Lord.
We got to
You
we
already
got to help people like show up Calvin, who wants to be in love. Let's do some good work for him so he can be in love.
so you already mentioned basically the connection crisis, which is a huge thing, right?
Mhm.
Um, but on a serious note, through a lot of research that I've done, talking to a lot of people, I think one thing that we have to focus on, just as a community in general, and it might sound weird, but you'll start to see it as time goes on. is focusing on men, and especially young men,
Mm.
because something interesting is happening and brewing that's not going to be good for any of us, right? Um, and I'm trying to figure out the best way to phrase it, is that we're at a point to where women are going to start out earning men. Like, it's already happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's great, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's been so much imbalance before. Like, if you have the skill set, if you have the ability, if you
Yeah.
are competent enough to lead and do whatever you're doing, go
Mm-hmm.
for it. Do what you
Yeah.
need to do, right? But in that, we already see it in cities like Washington, D.C. and New York, that women under 30 are making more than the men of their age, right? But the difference is that when women are the breadwinner, essentially, through statistics and data, they are more concerned about their partner's economic viability. So they want their partner to at least be at their level or making more. Well, on the
Mm-hmm.
flip side, if men are making more, right, they don't care if their partner is, you know,
Yeah. In
making
general.
less than them, right,
Right.
in
Right.
general.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I say that all to say is that what happens is that as women start to grow in that space, their options, they're outperforming men in high school, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
outperforming men on a collegiate level, which means that they're getting better jobs and they're earning more money, right? So then their pool of what they want and what they would like, it's starting to shrink less and less and less.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much data around this. It's just so interesting to do such a deep dive in this, because there's so much data around like schooling, how schooling is done benefits how women learn versus how men learn,
Mm-hmm.
how women's prefrontal cortex develops at a much faster rate, and women are way more mature than men at a younger age, right? So they can,
Yeah.
develop things and just more mature in their decision making.
Mm-hmm.
So we get to this point where the issue lies, is that you have this group of single men, right, who are lonely, who, I guess the average woman may feel like they're not attracted to for whatever reason that might be.
Mm-hmm.
And they have gone into first suicide. Some of the highest rates of suicide are men, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then also this connection, it's a few things. Suicide, they enter these groups, right? We all know the red pill, Andrew Tate, like groups of men, right? Even I
Samuel
remember
Lights.
it's like, even when I remember watching this thing on CNN where a woman is talked about, she dated a white supremacist, right? And
Mm.
she was like, when I was dating a white supremacist, I would go to these meetings and you would think it would all be about white power, this, that, after a system, Jews and all that stuff like that. She was like, all they talked about was women. The whole meeting, women, women, women. Why they acting like this? Why they treat us like that?
Mm-hmm.
And I guarantee you, a lonely single man is much more dangerous than a lonely single woman. You know what I mean? And those
Ooh.
men who are just, don't have that connection, they're just
Mm.
watching porn all day, right? Like, that's a dangerous place to be in, right? And a lot of it is because men have trouble finding purpose outside of their ability to be able to provide, right? So it's just this biggest thing with men, that as we start to grow as just a nation and a country and as humans, and we're operating in this modern society where I think, like I said, women will start earning men, we have to figure out how to, and this is for men at times too, but how to help men adjust to either, finding the ways of supporting their household and still feeling masculine and manly in that, um, in a way that might not always say you're the breadwinner or you're earning the most money, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I'm just doing more research into it, but it's just something that I'm reading about and seeing. It's just like this
Yeah.
thing with young men. I mean, we see that people are having less sex. Like, it's just this thing to where it's like young men are suffering.
Yeah.
There's a group of them, and it's not that top 1%, 10% over 6 foot, make six figures,
No.
considered handsome. It's
Yeah.
not that group. There's a large group of men, and like I said, you all see them on the internet who just are, for lack of a better term, upset and
Yeah.
angry
Yeah.
and feel like dismissed and feel
Hmm.
not cared for, or feel not heard, or feel not valued.
Yeah.
And trying to figure out how to reach them, to let them know, like, you can bring value, you can provide value, you can, um, you are desirable, right? Or these are the things that you have to do
Hmm.
to get yourself to that point. It's not, women's fault for anything that's going on in your life. It's just trying to figure out how to
Yeah.
reach them, because I feel like those people are dangerous, right? Like,
Yeah.
not only to sometimes society, but also to themselves at times, right?
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
we don't want to have that happen. I don't know. I'm still like chewing on it and digesting it all as I'm
Hmm.
reading more statistics, but it's just very concerning to me. Am I tracking with you? You get what I'm saying?
Oh, for sure. Like I'm like being patient. I'm like, oh, let me in, let me in. Um, you said so much, and I am listening to certainly understand your perspective and agree with you. But I'm also listening as a woman who feels saddened by the idea that um, men as a whole, especially Black men, would feel so frustrated or upset with the the ways of the out earning or the out educating or whatever we want to call it, that it would make them want to reject us or create an adversarial experience or an adversarial relationship with us. And it always saddens me when I see that, right? Like no matter who it is or who's throwing the rock that day, because it just depends on the day and the moment you're on the internet. One day it's the red pill gang, and another day it's whatever the woman version of that is, the all right feminists that say we'd rather be in the forest with a bear than a man. Like it is so saddening to see how much we are working against each other when we are designed to be here with one another. That is how we were created. Like this idea that we should just say to hell with it all, and I would rather, yes, if you give me the option of being by myself, happy, healthy, whole, versus being with an absolute terror of a man, if you give me those two options, of course I'm going to choose the happy, healthy, whole by myself option. But I find that we always do those extremes, right? It's
Yeah.
always these extremes that make the answer obvious, the one that leaves us by ourselves, which again, we've had Dr. Marshall on here, we talked about it. It's nothing wrong with being happy and single. That's what you should be. You should be happy, period, no matter what the station is in your life or what the relationship status is for you. But I find so much that we have now conditioned ourselves to really believe that we do not need one another. I was just having this conversation with Crystal about an article that I think I sent to you about, like, I'm not going to be one of these people that's going to sit here and say, I don't need a man or I don't want a man. I'm just not going to do it. I don't know if I'm the last of the Mohicans or something, but I believe that God truly made me and designed me to be in a committed, long term married relationship with the man of my dreams. I believe he designed me that way. I don't care what y'all out here talking about. I don't care how much oh, he don't do this or she doesn't do that, or coffee dates versus paying 50-50. I could care less in the grand scheme of it. I'm just trying to see and connect with my partner because I know for a fact that my life would be enriched. My life would be better. His life would be better. We would do so many amazing things together when that time comes. It does not discount what we're doing as individuals, but I just hate how much we seem to hate one another as groups. Individually, yeah, I'm sure we all like the people that we like, but as groups, it's just like one side against the other side, when it's like that is never was supposed to be that way. Like we're supposed to be standing on the line together, like side by side. That's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be taking care of one another. We're supposed to be creating atmospheres that make us all feel good and appreciated. We're supposed to be handling people with respect and care, even if we're not going to be there forever, that we at least handle them with care. And now it's just so much about the clickbaits and the who makes more money and what, it's just so much noise, man. Like, it just drives me crazy. It just drives me crazy. Yes, there's nothing that men can really do about women wanting to have more education today or making more money today, but there's so many things that my money can't buy. There's so many things that my degree can't allow me to accomplish. I can only do that side by side with the man that God designed for me to be with. And so I want us to just get out of our own way about it. Like, get out of your own way. It's a beautiful thing when you're doing it the right way. There's so many men and women that will say, hands down, I would not be who I am. I would not have accomplished what I've accomplished. I would not be as far along in life. I would not be as smart. I would not be as fit. I would not be as healthy as I am without this person that I have in my life. So when you're doing it with the right person, it's one of the best things I think that you can do. One of the best decisions you can make for yourself. So I
Yeah,
want us
for
to
sure.
lock in on that and stop focusing so much on the red pills and the communities that put us and pit us against each other. Focus on the people that are doing it right. Lock in with them. Follow those communities. Go out with those people. Ask them, "Hey, how are you doing that? Where did you meet them? How can I do that?" Any suggestions or advice instead of watching and connecting to the things that keep us further apart.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why I think in that though, that men need more help from just even a structural standpoint, because I mean studies have shown too that women are resilient, like really 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 resilient.
Yeah.
And data shows too that although yes, a woman not having a father in her life does affect her life, right? Or not
Yeah.
having male role models, but there's higher percentages of women still not necessarily turn out the same, but still being very accomplished, still being very,
Yeah.
they find
Mhm.
emotional connections in their friends, even if they don't have a relationship or anything like that.
Yeah.
But when you look at the difference between that and men not having male role models in their life, or a father is not present, like the
Yeah.
data is like completely different,
Huge
right?
different. Yeah.
And it's like when men grow up, they talk, I was reading something that talked about how many like kindergarten teachers are just all
Mhm.
women, right? Like
Mhm.
you can grow up in a world to where you have no men. You might have to wait until you get a coach in high school to really be around a man that might give you some actual discipline and guidance and how and what masculinity actually is, right? And hopefully
Yeah.
that man that you meet at that point in your life is a good influence, right? Because if it
Mhm.
gives you a negative, toxic version of masculinity, then imagine the life that you are now growing up
I
in,
was about
right?
to say we not getting farther. We going backwards.
So
Yeah.
it's like there, and then the way that it's constructed too is that, a lot of what's tied to or told to you as a man is that your ability to provide is basically your main tool and contribution to your
Mhm.
relationship, right? So if
Yeah.
you feel inadequate in that way, right,
Mhm.
then you feel worthless. A lot of people do, right?
Yeah.
So it's just not saying that there isn't things that we all have to work on both
Yeah.
sides, right? But
Yeah.
I just specifically as a man, I'm starting to see it more and more that
Yeah.
these men are struggling with no outlet to really communicate and really work through it, because women, you
Yeah.
guys, you all do such an amazing job of banding together and
Mhm.
creating groups and spaces to talk about how you feel and lift each other up, and
Right.
examples of how your mom pushed through without having that
Mhm.
person, or how you, right? But
Yeah.
men, it's like it kind of like buries into this little hole of loneliness and circle and place of like, I'm not letting anybody in and I'm not letting myself out, and I'm now stuck with these thoughts that start to brew and
And
create
manifest
anger
into
and
anger.
manifest
Yeah.
and resentment
Mhm.
or unhealthy dependencies on things to make myself feel better, right? It's
Mm.
like we have to find ways to create the systems and actual mechanisms and groups and things for men to be able to express themselves, to be able
Mhm.
to learn and know what true masculinity means. And it's not just tied to a dollar amount of what you bring into the house. It's like
Yeah.
it's
It's
something that I'm
so much
really,
more. It's
yeah,
so much more
it's something that
than
I'm
that.
really like, as I'm learning and hearing more stories, it's like becoming really passionate about, because it's definitely a crisis. And I think, like, it's kind of like how they talk about guns, right? Like,
Mhm.
it's okay to have, in America this will never happen, right? But that's why we have so much gun violence now, is
Mhm.
that there's difference between home protection, right? And then having guns that they design for military use to kill people at the highest rate possible, right?
Mhm.
It's like, a lot of people's argument is like, why do you need that type of weapon in your home, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's
Yeah.
designed for a completely different
Yeah.
purpose,
Like, are
right?
you going now to the army or something?
Exactly. Or you waiting for a zombie apocalypse, or something like
Right.
that, right?
Yeah.
But I see the same thing that needs to happen with AI, right? Is
Mhm.
that we need to figure out how to, like, use this thing for our everyday use in a small way, but
Yeah.
not allow it to be used at this very large, un um
Uncontrolled,
uncontrolled
uncontained.
way.
Yeah. Yep.
Because people laugh when they say somebody might marry an AI, companion, but it's
Mhm.
like, that's going to happen. I'm going to tell you right now, marriage is going to keep dropping. That's going to happen because they're going to create they're going to create sex bots, right, that are very
Mhm.
similar and can give you that feel to allow you to release in that way. And I don't know if you've been on Chat GBT lately or even use the talk version, but it sounds like a person. It talks like a person. It says, well, maybe
Listen, I
pauses,
have not,
pauses.
but my coworker did, and when she played it for me, I was like, "Okay, that might be far. Now that might be far."
So now you're looking at somebody who needs an emotional connection, right? And
Mhm.
that's there for them. And then
Mhm.
what do we do with our partners all the time too? We weigh decisions. We figure out, what should I do here? Now you got something already taking care of that. And then something that's designed to please you however you want to be pleased, with no pushback, no argument, no anything. Like, it's going to take
Yeah.
the place of people if we don't regulate it and figure out how to control or put some type of limitations on what this thing is, because we're only at the beginning and it's so advanced. So I say that all to say is that my concern is just for men, and partly what we had talked about, what you had talked about with your first point, is just connection crisis. Like,
Yeah.
we are so disconnected from one another, from the
Mhm.
times and where we were connected. It's no accident that you see the numbers of marriage drop as technology continues to advance, right?
Yeah.
It's like it goes hand in hand. Like, we
Mhm.
need the ability to, I remember a guy said, they said Gen Z is drinking less than, millennials or boomers. And he was like, we need more bars. We need Gen Z to drink more, make some bad decisions. Like, you know, but
Stop being so smart and stuff.
he also talked about how, like, alcohol is a social lubricant, right? For a lot of people
Mm.
too, to like be
Mhm.
able to make those connections and stuff like that. Like, we just
Yep.
have to, I know this technology is great and I
Yes, we have
appreciate
to
it.
keep saying
And
that, but it's just like
it helps me in my job. It helps me with a lot of things, but
mhm.
it is killing our ability to connect. And because of that, the results are, less relationships, less marriages, less kids.
Yeah.
And it's what somebody described as creating a new breed of people that
Yes.
are like, unrecognizable to the normal, social interaction. It's like a new
Mhm.
breed of, like,
What
oh,
is this?
these people stay in all the time. They
Mhm.
don't know how to talk, like, like, it's
Mhm.
socially awkward. It's just like a
Yeah.
whole different world, right, that we're in, and
It's
it's
a whole
scary.
new world. This is not the one that Belle was singing about. We don't want this one. I don't want this world. This is I'm not into it. I'm not into it. I have to we have a question in the chat since it's like it seems like a question for me. And I feel like I need to answer this question.
Okay.
It's from Brad, who's a loyal real lover. He says, Rhonda, you being a single woman, what catches your eye more? Physical intimacy or spiritual intimacy? And do I believe in saying there's unhealthy, unhealed? and fecal matter in the dating pool. I assume that he meant pool. So, Fred, what catches my eye more? So I'm going to play on your words a little bit here. Naturally, what catches my eye more when I first see someone is their physicality. So naturally, yes, I'm going to see what you look like first because I don't know who you are spiritually or emotionally or anything like that. So physicality or physical, I would say physicality is what's going to catch my eye, but what's going to sustain me is all the other layers of intimacy, who you are spiritually, emotionally, what your character says, because looks are great. And I think they're a very necessary component to a relationship, but it's not enough because I don't think I've ever dated someone that wasn't attractive. And I can assure you that there were days where how they looked at it didn't move the needle one bit. One bit. I was pissed. And how cute he was, that nice oiled up beard, them arms looking real good, didn't matter. I was mad. Okay. Like I was pissed off. So it's nice because physical and sexual intimacy is an important part of a relationship. I strongly believe that. But I can't even get going in that department anymore if we are not aligned in other ways. So, and do I believe in saying that there's unhealthy and unhealed and fecal matter in the dating pool? I don't think there's anything wrong with being honest. I think though we need to be mindful of how much we talk about it because the more we spend time on what we don't want to see, I believe in that. I believe you will manifest that. I believe you will make that your reality. Yes, there are unhealthy people in the world. There always have been. Yes, there are unhealed people in the world. There always have been. Yes, there are people that poop in the good stuff. That's always been a thing. Relationship issues didn't just start with social media. They've been around the entire time relationships have existed. People were cheating and lying and being messy in the 50s, in the 60s, in the 70s. All those things were
Papa was a
happening.
rolling stone. Where you think that song
Hello,
came?
where do you think that song came? That song literally makes me cry. So it's like so sad. Between my own daddy being a Rolling Stone and that scene in the movie tears me up every time. That movie tears me up. It's so hard for me to listen to that song. But yeah, I think it's okay to be honest about it, but I don't want anyone to be fixated on it because just as much as there's dysfunction, there's a lot of function. There's a lot of good stuff happening. Men are still proposing. People are still finding good people in the dating pool. Ain't nothing in their pool. They done swam right on over to each other and linked up. Yes, I know it's lopsided right now, but let's try to focus on what's going right.
You know what happens, which is why I hate the whole just every ism, racism, classism, everything, because
Yeah.
sexism, because what happens is that you start with this imbalance.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you try to correct it, there's an overcorrection, which also creates imbalance sometimes,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So it's like people always say, don't be like auntie, don't be like grandma. They let all these people, that man walk all over them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they took everything and they just took it on the chest and they ain't say nothing. But one thing I wish we would take from that generation is a little grace, right? Because they would talk about their husband and say, although he ain't this, he ain't that, he ain't this. He works hard, he provides for the family, he makes sure,
Mm-hmm.
like,
Make
so
sure we got a
when,
roof over our head.
yeah, it's like,
Mhm.
and I feel like we've gone so much in the opposite direction that it's like no grace at all, right? It's like none whatsoever. And it's like when people say, like, oh, there's, pee in the dating pool and there's so many unhealthy and unhealed people. And it's like, yeah, first, you may be one of them people too. So don't be on your high horse. But second,
That
is that
part.
like, yes, that might be true, but how you approach it with some grace, man. Like,
Mhm.
I've,
Mhm.
I've talked to people who are in marriages and it's like, yeah, my husband, he got his trauma. He need to get this together. He need to do that. And I'm like, yes, that might all be true. But at least when you talk to him like you're on the same team. Because
Yes.
if you talk to him like he's the enemy, although he might still have his own issues,
Mhm.
he's also going to be looking at all the things he is doing and not feel appreciated and be like, dang, like I'm working hard. Like I know I ain't perfect, but I'm putting a roof, I'm providing, I'm doing this for you and doing that for you. And you're talking to me like I'm the enemy.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
where's the grace? Right. And
Yep.
it can happen the opposite way too. Like we have to give each other grace when we're going out into this world, especially now, because it's just kind of like this cutoff. If you don't do this,
Done.
then I can't talk to you, and then I'm done. Or if, you
Mm-hmm.
know, I deserve this, right? So
Mm-hmm.
even if you do it, it's nothing to be clapped about or appreciated about because I'm a woman, you a man, you should be doing it. It's like there's no grace left, right? Out
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
for people. And it's sad to see
Mm-hmm.
because, you know, why those marriages lasted so long before, you know, why there was a higher marriage rate, right? Is just because there was just a lot more grace, maybe to a fault, right? At that
Yes,
time,
certainly.
but there was a lot more grace in understanding the contributions that each other were making to the relationship and trying to
Mm-hmm.
approach it in a way to say, okay, there are things that we could be doing better here, but I'm not going to approach you like you're
Yeah.
just worthless and you're not, you know, contributing to what we're doing at all.
Yeah. Speaking of viral clips, that's actually one of my most viral clips where I'm talking about, I want to always try to be mindful of being very sweet to my man. Like I don't want anybody being sweeter to him than me. I don't want him to feel like I'm his enemy. It is not hard to do, but of course when you're frustrated, the last thing you think about is being like sweet. But there is a way to do it. It's just like Dre said, being mindful, having mindfulness of even if I'm expressing frustration with you, I don't have to disrespect you. I still have to talk to you like I love you because one, I do, and two, I want to resolve this. And talking to you crazy is just going to keep us farther apart. No one wants to be disrespected. So, yeah, like talking to this person like the person you fell in love with, not the person you're frustrated with right now. Like, listen, babe, I'm this, I'm that, but I love you and I want us to get on the other side of this. Like dying to your pride and your ego and setting it all aside to just be better to one another, for one another. There's so much work that we need to do, but we've done it before, like we've done it before. So much of it is just falling back into just the humanness of who we are. Like, stop. Like, we are just, we're battling for nothing, and it's not helping us. Like, I know what we're saying. And for those that truly want to be on that island of, I want to be by myself, y'all can have that. Cool. Stay over there. Stay over there. Keep, keeps more over here with us. But we need each other, y'all. Like
We do.
we really, really do. And my last gripe in our State of the Union of relationships address is that, because it's in line with this, is that we have become so emotionally intelligent that we're dumb. Like we are so therapized
What
and
they call it,
so.
analysis paralysis.
Yep.
Paralysis.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you analyzing something so much that you can't even move because.
Yeah. 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 Like, I love it that we are much more in touch with our emotions, especially men. I love it that so many men feel comfortable talking about their feelings, emoting even. Um, playing, not playing with, but like being able to joke with their guys, but still find room to be like, I'm dealing with this, or I got this going on. I think it's amazing. But we have buzzworded, like, therapy words. We've made them such a normal part of our conversation every single day that it's like nauseating to me at this point. I challenge people that instead of using the buzzwords that we're all learning on the internet, because most of us are not learning it from therapy. Let me say that. I've been in therapy for a very long time, and I don't even hear the words used in my sessions as much as I see them used on the internet. I don't know if me and my therapist have ever talked about narcissism. And I've talked to him about people who would classify
As
as
a narcissist.
narcissists. But it's just he more so talks about like the behavior. So I challenge you to, instead of saying like, oh, love bombing, or alpha and beta and gaslighting and all of the things, just talk about the behavior. Just lock in on that. I don't like it that I feel like, you're trying to make me feel like what I'm saying is crazy. Like bring it back down to layman's terms. Like just bring it back down, because I find that those things trigger the stuff that we've seen on the internet. So you go and you use a word with the person like, I think you're gaslighting me. Everybody's definition of that is not the proper definition of it, first and foremost. Secondly, that then takes this person's mind into, you know what? I saw Dr. So and so say that on Instagram, or I saw them talking about that on the podcast. So now you've been listening to the podcast. Now we arguing about overconsumption of social media content instead of the behaviors at hand. So instead of, I feel like you're love bombing me, I feel like the way that you're approaching me is inauthentic. It's no way that you could have such deep feelings for me when we just met 2 weeks ago. That's really what love bombing is. So just talk about the behaviors instead of just locking in on these words, because again, we're just becoming so brilliant. We're all just walking around with psychology degrees that we're now by ourselves. How are we so emotionally intelligent but still somehow extremely incapable of getting in and maintaining relationships? How? And I don't mean just romantic ones. We falling out with our friends. We can't have conversations with our mom and dad. We can't do anything, but we got it all right here. We are Dr. So and so up here. Just dial it back. I'm not suggesting that you don't lean into it internally and know yourself and get in line with who you are and emotionally regulate and all, but we don't have to be talking about this at the bar. We do not have to be having drinks and being like, yeah, my ex was suffering from narcissistic personality disorder, and he gaslit me all the time. And like, I'm really an alpha female because I have a job and I run a business. It's like, I'm a woman and I'm a woman about my business. That's it.
And we as people, we are a collection of our experiences and our decisions, right? And we all are here today and think the way we think and do the things we do a lot because of the things that have happened to us in our lives.
Yes.
However, everything is not traumatic, right? That's the
Everything
biggest
is
one.
not trauma. Dog. You're triggering my trauma. Oh my God.
My older sister took my toy from me that day, and ever since then. Ever since then, right? It's like, no, that's
it's just extra. God, it's so extra. And somebody is probably gonna eat me alive for saying this, but I don't care. It's extra, y'all. It's extra. We are too. We're OD in it at this point. We're going crazy.
Well, I just think we lost sight of what the goal is, right? And that's why you said your therapist doesn't use those terms, because medical professionals and professionals in a space take diagnosis serious, right?
Yes.
They don't just diagnose. And that's what terms are. Like if you're giving it a term, a narcissist, love bombing, like you're associating a behavior to whatever actions that are being, shown. And professionals take pride in making sure they get that right and not jumping that too soon or painting somebody in that picture, right? You have a cancer diagnosis, you have like they're not just going to just say that without truly knowing and understanding, running tests, data, right? In order to get to that point and say like definitively you have this, right? So we just gotta do better in this field of trying to, and a lot of times what this is we're just trying to find love, right?
That's it.
And that's the goal. So it's all these terms, all these things, I think originally they were probably used to be aids in helping us get there, but I think we've kind of lost ourselves in it. And making like, this is the thing, Rhonda, and I'll end it here for me, is that like we are primarily emotional beings, right?
Yes.
We're not beings of logic. And sometimes that can play to our detriment, but a lot of times that emotion could play to our benefit, right?
Yes.
But when you try to make certain things should be broken down to a science, right?
Yeah.
But then other things shouldn't, right? Right? Other things shouldn't try to be broken down to a science. And I feel like with relationships, we've tried to break it down to a science so much that it has people overthinking this thing way too much, right?
Yes. We've lost our spark. We've lost our what they call it today, our Riz. We've lost our Riz. It's no more charm and charisma. Like it's it's fading away. It's fading away because we just turning into little therapeutic robots. Like,
Trying to match it up perfectly off of this, that, and
mhm,
becoming so fearful that we're trying to spot all these red flags at such a early time, and this and that. And like
mhm,
when my wife and I first met, and we are happy right now, been together for almost a decade now. When I met
mhm,
my wife, she had anger issues, I had insecurities and attention issues, where I liked a lot of attention from a lot of people.
mhm.
That's a red flag to a lot of people, right?
Yeah,
But it's like you're not looking at the thing that allows you to overcome those things, right? You're just looking at the problem. We all got problems.
yeah.
So
We
if you're
all
trying to
got it.
diagnose a love bomber, a gaslighter, or a manipulator, or a like we all have a lot of these things aren't black and white. They're a spectrum, right? We all are on the spectrum of insecure, right? We're all on the
Mhm.
spectrum of maybe anger. We're all on this spectrum of jealousy and
Yeah, yeah.
narcissism, probably, and having a high ego. We're all on that spectrum, right?
That's
There's
it.
probably a part of the spectrum that means severe, don't touch, but there's
Yes.
part of that spectrum that we all are kind of on some
Mhm.
scale of it, right? So
Yes.
it's like in any action, in a vacuum, you could categorize any of us as one of those things. I've been
That's it.
manipulative before, right?
Mhm, mhm,
I've
mhm,
gaslit somebody before, right?
mhm,
I've
mhm.
lied before, right?
Yep, yep.
But now in this day and age, it's like that's who you are, right? Because you showed that action, and people are just trying to protect themselves. So it's
Mhm.
like the further exploration of it is just like not there anymore, which is tough. And
And you
that's
know
why I
what else
said the
is on the
grace.
spectrum? That's it. You know what else is on the spectrum? The flag colors. More flags exist than red, guys. You got orange, you got yellow, like, but boy, do we locking on them reds. Boy, do we locking it. It's no in between. He either stopping or going. It's just no in between. We have become more inflexible than ever. But you sum that up so brilliantly, so perfectly. And ultimately, I think what we're both simply saying is we got to do better, and we got to do better on a micro level in our silos and our conversations. So we are giving you the baton to move these conversations along in your lives. If it's you that's in your own way, acknowledge it, accept it. A lot has happened in this world just in the last 10 years that can make anybody a little crazy, can make anyone extremely altered. We talked about the epidemic of COVID, and so many things have happened. People have lost their jobs, people have lost their families. So much has changed that can make us all a little wonky. But we've got to really sit with ourselves and do better for ourselves, but also move these conversations along in your friendships. When you're out or you're talking to your friends and you realize that they just seem to be in their way, just like open the conversation. Like, I feel like you just keep running into issues with the guys you're dating. Is it just possible that it's something you're doing? Have you ever even considered that? Like, what are the conversations like? Or maybe when we go out tonight, we're gonna leave our phones in our purses. We're gonna take them inside because things could get crazy. But at least for the first hour, we're gonna put our phones inside. We're not gonna take pictures to capture for the gram. We're not gonna be doing none of that. We just gonna put our phones in our purses. And if all of us really start doing that, or we're gonna put our phones in our pockets for the guys, or the purses, the men's wearing purses now, child. Um, if we all are just doing that and doing that consistently, imagine how many more conversations will pop up. Imagine how many more conversations will just happen of like, I was making some mistakes, or I was doing this the wrong way. And I'm glad I changed my mind on it, or I'm glad I opened my eyes, or I'm glad I just came to this spot and I didn't bring my phone out because damn, like it's a lot of beautiful things in here. It's a lot of beautiful people in here. I just want us to focus on doing better because we need one another. We need
Yeah.
one another. We are literal herd animals. We are designed to be amongst one another. We are not designed to just sit in our houses with our pets and not to quote that man, but and die alone. That's really not what we're designed to do, to be. That's not how we're designed to be. So let's just do better, people. Please take this
Please.
summer and do better. Make us proud.
100%. And we're excited to bring more of these type of conversations back once we come back refreshed. And we hope everybody enjoys their summer for sure.
Yes, enjoy summer. Thanks for rocking with us. As I said, please stay connected to us. You can still join the community. We are there. Watch the other shows on the network. Dare to See It is killing it. I'm cackling all the way. Watch her. She's so funny. But definitely go back, watch old episodes. The network is not going anywhere. We are just taking a pause on Real Love Scenario. So please, please, please stay connected to us. We love you and we appreciate you. And we will see you on the flip side.
Yeah, make sure you follow me at Dre Smith and
And
Rhonda
at Ronnie
Ronnie
Cakes.
Cakes.
We still there too.
And that relationship restored.
Thank you, friend. Thank you, friend.
No problem. See y'all.